You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today, man, we have another show lined up for y'all today. Man, today we have an amazing topic. We're going to talk about how to use the power to pause in order to slow down and speed up. So we have a special guest today. She is not just a coach, but she's into yoga, and she's going to teach us some amazing things today. So first and foremost, I want to welcome Megan Nolan to the show and say, how you doing?
So good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you being on here. So, man, first and foremost, like I said in the intro, you're all about the self-care. You're all about helping people, have, like a morning routine and just kind of take all the stress away, because, who's not stressed out nowadays? So this is a good episode for you to be on with us today. Kind of tell the audience a little bit about what you do and also about your website. You have a website, megan-loden.com. Give the audience a little bit backdrop about yourself.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with you. We all have stress to varying degrees, right? And so one of the most important things that we can do to be able to manage the challenge of life a little bit more easily with a little bit more grace is really slowing down. And that's what we're talking about today, is the power of the pause. And to me, that's so important because I have gone to that point in my life when I was in the go, go, go and the do, and the push, push, push and the make it happen sort of mode. And I got so far into that mode that I crashed and burned and really burnt out. And admittedly, that's happened a few times. Hence the reason I'm such an advocate for people to slow down and take care of themselves, because we have many chances in life to start again and start over, but we really only have one body. And in order to be able to do all the things that you love to do, you need your body, and ideally your body to be healthy and strong, and your mind to be happy and clear and focused, and, be feeling lit up with joy and excitement about life rather than feeling like, oh man, I can't even right now. And that can happen when we're tapped out, especially when you're busy and you got a lot going on. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have a business, even, with our work, there's always a million and one things that are vying for your attention. And so when you start the day with that intentional pause of checking in with yourself, how do you feel today? How does your body feel? How does your mind feel? How does your heart feel? Like, what's on deck for today? And when you start the day from that place of presence within yourself, there's a whole lot of beautiful things that happen inside your body that we can talk about, but it really does help you to get in touch with you, right? Because so much of our life is happening and we're interacting with stuff going on outside of us. But when we slow down and when you shift your focus internally and to yourself, you get to check in. It's like asking yourself, how you doing? Because we ask people that all the time, but rarely do we ask ourselves that unless we kind of slow down and say, okay, what do I need today? What does my body need? And so that's, for me, is why it's important, because I got to that other side and I was all bust up and in all sorts of physical pain, emotional pain. And, I was ready to just throw in the towel of like, I don't know if I can cut out to be an entrepreneur. This is really damn hard. And I didn't know how hard it was going to be. And so for me, it's really important, and it's the foundation of everything.
It's funny how you talk about how we check in with people and ask them how they're doing. We forget to ask ourselves how we're doing. It's almost like, a hot day, you're passing out water to everybody, but you forget to drink water yourself. It's not safe. You gotta, like you're saying, like today's topic, the power of the pause, how to slow down to speed up in order to speed up. I think that's a brilliant concept, by the way. I'm gonna steal that. But
okay, thank you.
when you use your platform, because like we said, what we're talking about, you are the creator of the Purposeful Powerhouse Practice, and this whole concept of being able to pause, right? Slow down in order to speed up. Break that down for the audience and how you use that as a tool.
For sure. So there are really three questions that you can ask yourself to take a power pause. And it doesn't have to take very long for you to do it. If you have a longer period of time and you want to stretch it out, you can do it, for as long as you want, or it can be as quick as just asking yourself these 3 questions. So in order for you to get still, the first question to ask yourself is, where is my breath? Where is my breath? And as soon as you ask yourself that question, it automatically shifts your focus inside, right? Because you can give me a logical answer for that. Well, obviously my breath is in my lungs. Hello. But no, what you're looking for is, where is it in your body? Where can you feel it? Because when you shift your focus, you use that sensation of the breath, of observing the act of breathing, it automatically begins to calm you down. Because when we're in the go, 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 and we're in the action of doing things, we tend to go into that very frantic, frazzled, make it happen sort of mode, which admittedly, you need to be in go mode sometimes, for sure. I'm not advocating that you're just chilling all the time. There's ups and downs, right? It's like day and night. And so when you take your mind to that question of where is my breath, it gives you the opportunity to not only feel your body and how it's breathing. What you're doing there is a lot more deep and a lot more powerful, because you're already beginning to shift your nervous system to a quieter and calm place. And the reality is, as you said at the beginning, we all have stress. And the truth about stress is that, yes, some stress is good to get you into action, like light a fire under your butt and get you going. But when we have too much stress chronically, it's a problem. Stress is related to every major chronic disease. So we want to do whatever we can. So that's the first step. That's the first question, is asking yourself, where is my breath?
Once again, we're talking to our guest here on I'm Your Focus Radio, Megan Nolan. You can go to her website. It's super easy. It's megan-nolan.com. And yeah, I mean, I heard many times, people on the show kind of have like a common thread, whenever you're stressed out, the power of taking, a deep breath. You hear people say that sometimes, slow down, take a deep breath, I think that's important because, when we hear about people doing yoga and all this stuff, we think it's woo-woo. And it's like, oh, that's a little weird or a little different. But no, it's an exercise. And for those who don't know about that topic that we're discussing, that's why you're here. And for you have a combination of yoga and exercising. So when someone's listening and they're like fresh out the gate, they don't know what this is all about, how do you help break down the barrier of I don't know if yoga is a technique I want to tap into? How can you kind of break down that barrier for people who can be a little bit more open-minded?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And I totally understand that. I mean, look at all the stuff that we see on social media. There's all sorts of crazy stuff out there. You may look at yoga and think not happening. I am not a pretzel. That is not going to work for my body.
Right.
And the beauty about yoga is that it's so diverse, in the sense that there's so many different poses and there's so many different ways that you can practice. And there's no one way other than the way that works for you. And so really, that's really important for us to remember, because we can sometimes say, no, it's not going to work for me because my body doesn't do stuff like that, or my body won't do stuff like that. Really just knowing that what you're doing when you practice is ultimately breathing. First and foremost, yoga is a breathing practice. And so that's why the first question of the power pause is, where's my breath? Because really what it's doing is giving you a moment to shift your focus to your breath, and then using all of the stretches and the different tools that we do, the different movements, the different hand positions, all of that. The whole goal of all of it is to give you an experience of calm. And that's truly the definition of yoga. And so sometimes people think, oh, it's just all these stretching and poses, crazy things. But truly what it's doing is just giving you an opportunity to just take a second, right? And that's the ultimate, the journey and the destination of the yoga practice. And so that's the the essence of it, and just kind of taking all of what you've seen and just putting that aside for a second, it really is helping you to come back into balance. And so interestingly, that's the second question to ask yourself when you take a power pause is, what do I need right now to come back into balance? So that means checking in with yourself. So you already have asked yourself, where is my breath? And you're getting a sense for how you're feeling. And now the second question to ask yourself of the three is, what do I need to come back into balance? Like right now, if you are feeling like, like all sorts of stress, way more energy, and you just feel like you're jacked on all the caffeine, so you need some grounding, you need some calming yourself down, or on the opposite side of that spectrum, if you're feeling super run down, burnt out, like completely tapped out, then what you need to come back into balance is more energizing. So maybe that's for you, is like getting up and moving your body, dancing. It doesn't have to be yoga, right? Like whatever feels good for you to get that, your personal energy back up. And the reality of most of our life is we spend a lot of it sitting down. And we spend a lot of it interacting with some sort of device, whether that's a computer, a laptop, a mixing board, whatever it is. There's a lot of time spent working in front of us. And so a lot of time, what you need to come back into balance is, firstly, if it's available to you, stand up and get your body back up into a stronger posture, because we all spend way too much time slouched over some sort of keyboard. And so that's, just to give you an experience of like what that means as far as what really yoga is all about. That's truly what it's all about, is you coming back into balance.
It's funny you said about the posture, because I literally have a keyboard right in my face right now, and we can easily forget, time just kind of, it just speeds away, and if we're not careful, it gets so far ahead of us that, we almost get placed in a position where now we're forced to do certain things, if it's, to live a healthier lifestyle or whatever. And sometimes if we're not careful, we might be a tad bit late, when it comes to having a better, healthier lifestyle. But everything you're saying, I think is important, because you have a great point about whether it's yoga or if it's like you listen to your favorite, music, genre or song, or you spend time with friends and family, whatever it is that allows you to experience that balance, if you will, as far as like, we're not a thermometer, we're more like a thermostat. We get to like choose, okay, I'm tired of being, hot, or I'm tired of being cold and dark. Let's get back to the sweet spot, if you will. And whatever that is for your, however you measure yourself individually, you have to take that responsibility. Like, okay, how do I get from where I don't want to be to my ideal place where I'm actually functioning and being as productive as possible?
Exactly. That's it. It's that perspective of, okay, am I happy with where I'm at? Like, I think it's always a spectrum, right? We can always refine what we're doing, because we're constantly evolving as humans. That's really the work of us as humans, right? Is we're always learning and growing and evolving. And so we can always challenge ourselves for more. But I think you made a really good point of saying that sometimes we can have this feeling of, oh, well, I guess it's a bit too late. I already have pain, or I'm already however many years old. And the beautiful thing about us as humans is that we always have the capability to transform and grow and strengthen. And that's always available to us. Like even when it comes down to the little fibers inside your brain, we can always shift that. And there's always opportunity for us to get stronger. Like there's incredible studies that show when people, if they have never done any strength training at all, they start to do resistance training, like whether that's with bands or light weights in their 90s, like 90 years old, they have improvements, they have strength gains, they have flexibility gains. So that means that there's always a possibility. It's never too late. And it's our mind. If you can hear a rooster, you're not going crazy. There's roosters that live in my backyard. I live in Hawaii, so there's chickens and roosters everywhere.
Oh, that's cool.
So
that's cool.
The thing is that the only thing stopping us, and we hear this all the time, right? The only thing stopping us is ourselves in our mind. And I say that because I need to hear it too. It's that freaking song that we see all over Instagram, like that, oh, hi, it's me. The problem is typically always us. And that's really the one thing that stands in our way most of the time.
Now it's stuck in my head. It's stuck in my head now.
I'm sorry. I wanted to go away, and I'm so sorry for doing that. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's like blew up as a trending sound. I'm like, all right, enough.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So if you listen right now, don't go on Instagram, because now it's gonna be stuck in your head. But yeah, no, it's perfect, man. I mean, sometimes I think we need things to be stuck in our head, and I think, not to go left field, but I think that is kind of the point of, the conversation today, the power of the pause. Like if you're not consistently, taking care of yourself, having the idea, okay, I need to find a way to pause so that way I can slow down in order to speed up. Well, if that's not your habit, then of course you're chaotic and you're like going all over the place, But if you take that idea to make it a habit that you're consistent with, was the same effect if you're doing the opposite, which is bad. Like, you have all these bad habits, but guess what? You're still consistently choosing those bad habits. So it's like you have to wake up and say, okay, what must I do in order to get away from this chaotic feeling I'm going through or whatever?
Yeah, I agree. And that's, one thing that people say to me all the time is they're like, oh, well, I have trouble being consistent. Well, I disagree, is that we can be consistent, but maybe you're not being consistent with the right things yet, and it's really, it's true. And again, it's one of those things that we all are challenged by. And so, that leads me perfectly to the last question. So the question so far to ask yourself, when you want to take a power pause, where is my breath? What do I need to come back into balance? And who am I being right now? Who am I being? And of course, your mind will say, oh, I'm being me, I'm being my name, like whatever your name is. But who are you being in the sense of, are you being consistent? Are you being grounded? Are you being happy? Or are you being like scattered and all over the place and you feel like a hot mess? Are you being the version of you that you want to show up as for your kids, for your family, for your team, your community, whatever? Like whatever that means to you, to be that highest, most expressed, fullest version of yourself. That's what we're working towards, right? And that's truly what we're trying to connect to when we take a power pause, because that's your true essence. Like, we're none of the nonsense in our head. That's not who you really are. That's the stories of your mind. Who you really are is that beautiful being, that pure and unlimited possibility being that we all are. And so whether that for you is that expression of God or the universe, like whatever that higher power is for you, that's the expression of who you truly are. And so I think that's really ultimately, how can we come back into that? How can we live as that person as much as we can, right? Because life is always going to throw us off balance, and we're going to, we have moments and we all get hijacked and sabotaged and what have you. But it really is, when you start the day from that place, not only are you aligning to that version of yourself, you're being intentional with how you show up and how you feel, but you're really tapping into that possibility.
Man, I'm not associated with Steph Curry, but I've been saying on my shows recently, when guests be hitting threes all throughout the show, nothing but net. Yeah, you hitting threes right now, like Steph Curry right now, like you doing trick shots. Like, that's everything you're saying is true, and I think it's important because it leads up to the next question, because I feel like you're inside my thoughts right now. But everyone experienced burnout at some point in life. I think it's just human nature. Like, at some point in life, a series of events or whatever the situation may be is going to cause us to be at, a fork in the road, where it's like, okay, I thought I can handle this stress, but it's at a certain peak where, a certain threshold where it's like, that's it, that's my white flag, that's my cue. I got to do something, because I don't know what else I can do to, survive or, continue, living like this or whatever. What have you done to recover from points in life where you felt like you were just burnt out?
That's a great question. And that's, you make some really good points there, is that it does happen to all of us to varying degrees. And I think the important thing is to start to recognize the signs in yourself so that you don't get as far down the track every time. And that's all we can do. Like once we know better, we do better, right? And so really starting to become more aware of how you're feeling throughout the month, throughout the week, and, throughout the day, so that you can keep an eye on that. Because the reality is, as you said, like we can all, especially when you're passionate and you have a purpose, and, we all have a purpose, but when you're very driven by that purpose and desire to make an impact, it can be hard to slow down. Right. And so for me, what it's meant to come back, and it's admittedly, it's really challenging. It was challenging for me. It still is, because I would push myself to the point of like complete exhaustion and literally having nothing to give back to myself, because I was just in that like, okay, sort of frantic, make it happen sort of mode. And the farther you go down that track to burnout, the longer it takes for you to get back.
Oh, that's good. Say that again.
The farther you go down that track to burnout, the longer it takes to go back. And that's why we want to make sure that we're starting to watch for the signs. Like, do you wake up in the night and your mind is going a mile a minute? Do you wake up in the morning and you're already in that like, rah, like go mode in the brain? And do you find yourself in that kind of cranky, irritable state throughout the day? Like all of those little signs. And so that's why, for me, that was the essence of, I got to that point and I'm like, this is not happening. I'm just, I don't even know. My brain wasn't even functioning anymore. I was like so tapped out, cortisol and like just the whole shebang, adrenal fatigue. So really it came back to, that analogy of we all have to fill up the cup, and it has to start with you, and it has to come first, and it has to be a priority. And that's when the morning routine really became a staple for me, because that's something I do for myself every day. And I do it for myself, and I feel good about doing it. I don't feel selfish. I feel very empowered in making that decision to put how I feel at the top of the to-do list and the top of the priority list. And so I would encourage your listeners to do the same, whatever that is for you. Again, it does not have to be yoga if that's not your thing. Maybe for you, it's prayer or journaling or meditation or being outside or whatever it is, having that window of time for yourself. And that's the pause button, and it's a pause button because otherwise, if we don't pause and we don't hit the pause button, we can get to that screeching halt. And that's the stop, right? And that's the stop that we got to come back from. So I would say that having that time in the morning, because we can have really good intentions about doing it later, but let's be real, half the time that never happens. And so doing it in the morning and having that level of accountability to yourself is really a great place to start.
Once again, you listen on Refocus Radio, talking to Megan Nolan. Go to her website, megannolan.com. Excuse me, that's Megan-Nolan.com. Again, that's Megan-Nolan.com. So, man, real quick, because I don't know what time went, but it went to like next week already. But on your website, you have a tag that I think is pretty cool. Wake the warrior within. I can't help to think, when you try and take that deep breath and you the power of pause, right? You trying to, slow down or speed up. It's almost like when you slow down, that warrior inside you wakes up, and now you motivated. Now you feel like Superman, Superwoman. You can just do anything in life. And then reality hits you, and it's like, okay, I may not be able to be Superman or Superwoman, but I can take the action of one. Because sometimes if you get too caught up in what is going on around you, that warrior within you just sleeps, and he just be like, he be out cold. And if you're not careful, he don't wake up. You're never going to get through those hardships.
Very true. Very true. That is, it's, a lot of times people wait until they have one of those really challenging moments to start to make these shifts. And what we're saying today is, the further ahead you can get by starting now, and whatever that means to you, it taps you into that place within you that feels powerful, that feels positive, that feels ready for anything, that's ready to take action, and that's really quite powerful. And so that's the essence of the warrior practice and life, and when it comes down to it. So it is one of those things that when you show up for yourself, it really pays off into all areas and parts of your life.
as a go-to call to action for our audience, you do have a purposeful powerhouse practice exercise that they can do for a morning routine. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. You can go to minimorningroutine.com and grab that. So it's diving deeper into those 3 questions that we talked about and helping you to create your own morning routine so that it works for you, for your energy, for your schedule, for your timeline. And I would love for you to grab that. And there's lots of extra tools and resources in there.
Well, if our audience feel like I do right now, I feel like I took a deep breath. I'm about to, speed up after this show because I'm motivated. And if it was any other case, I probably would end this interview like 10 minutes ago. But for you and your, goals for your platform and your business, short-term wise, as an entrepreneur, what do you see yourself doing in the near future that you hope to accomplish?
In the near future, I will be finishing up and launching my very first book, which I'm really excited about.
Okay, that's a good teaser. We're going to have you back on when the book is released. And are you able to share the title, or is it a secret? They have to follow you on social media.
It's a secret, but it's really good, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because it's going to give you the tools that you didn't know you needed.
Oh, you just made this a Netflix special. Now people have to wait for the next interview. Or they have to follow you on social media. So maybe we can make that work. Well, once again, we've been talking to our guest today on Focus Radio, Megan Nolan. You can go to her website, megan-nolan.com. Take the 3-step mini morning routine. I'm going to do it just because I feel like when you're open-minded, really smart person told me is that the parachute works. It's when you have a closed mind, when the parachute kind of gets all tangled up and you're like, oh, shoot, that's not good. So when people are listening to, when they're listening to this episode and they want to get to know you and follow you, what's the best way they can find you on social media?
On Instagram. Got lots of great stuff over there. So it's I am Megan Nolan on Instagram. Come hang out over there. Got lots of great ways that you can press pause and fun stuff that I have coming up. And I do a weekly live power pause on Mondays. So you'll find the links to all of that over on my Instagram.
Well, that's a perfect tag, man. I am Megan Nolan, and I am refocused. That's perfect. So y'all go ahead and do that. I want to say thank you to you, Megan, taking time in your schedule to talk to us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun to chat with you.